Here's the thing. We're in 2018 now. The days of dogs being in the backyard and cats kind of being ratters outside are over. You know, this is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and there's catios and other new words in our vocabulary because pets are very much part of our family. So it sounds like the IBPSA is on a dual mission for both pet parents and pet professionals.
We absolutely are. So when we talk to pet parents, I want them to understand that they need to ask very specific questions of their pet care service provider. One of the first questions is, have you been educated? Do you have any certifications? Then the next question is, if so, what are they? And can you show me those certificates? And then ask about how often the education happens with their staff, with management. You just really want to get into what they're doing and how they're doing it, especially if you have a pet that is fearful and has anxiety issues or separation issues. You want to make sure that that pet care service provider has had the right kind of training to handle your pet.
And there can be staff turnover.
Absolutely. In our industry, we have a really high staff turnover at the entrance level. So a lot of the times we use maybe high school or college kids. They come in, summer hits, they have to go home, at the college level, whatever. And so that training needs to happen all the time. And so it can be quite expensive for the pet care service provider if they are not have a regular education program set up where it's rotating because they know those times when they're going to lose an employee is coming. So we really, really encourage them to have an ongoing educational program every month that somebody's
So what are some things a good pet professional should know, whether they're a pet sitter, a boarding, a doggy daycare?
Number one thing, pet CPR and first aid. That's the number one thing I want to see.
Well, you're near and dear to my heart.
Mine too. Having had a pet who had seizures and then having a second pet who can find his way in a cactus any day of the week, I think it's important that you understand basic care. And not only for pet care service providers, but let's go back to the pet parent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything can happen at any time you turn your head and something can happen. And so you need to have those basic skills. So it's training on both sides for the pet parent and for the pet care service provider. I think what is so more important, though, about the pet care service provider is that they're providing care for a large amount of pets. Sometimes some facilities have 500 pets in their care. Wow. So when you're processing or taking care of that many pets, the amount of information you need to be actually provide emergency services is much higher because it's probably more likely it's going to happen in that kind of environment.
No, that's really good. So we got the pet first aid. It sounds also like behavior.
Yes. So behavior, we wanted to understand for the pet owner, when they take their dog to a playground, they really need to understand the basics of doggy body language. Are you sure that dog is really happy, or is that dog displaying symptoms of stress? And are you sure of the other dog that you're going to have a good meet and greet or not? Right. So you need to get some education on that end. But for the pet care service providers, It's imperative that every member of the staff understands body language, especially if they're doing doggy daycare.
Well, in our talk today I got to tell you, I did a whole thing on canine moods, and many of them aced it.
That's fantastic, because it's very, very important that people in the pet care industry understand that, those dogs are just like us humans sometimes. We get
grumpy, and overly excited, and I'm a little shy.
That's right. So if we're that way, then we have to understand that they're that way too. And so we really, really want to make sure that pet that we've brought into our facility, that we've asked the correct questions of the pet parent and said, wow, has anything exciting happened in your pet's life? Did you guys come back from vacation? Have you been on a hike? Ask the questions so that you understand the dog, or the cat, what's happening in their life. And we're bringing them into a facility that understands.